The late afternoon sun painted the park with a golden glow, filtering through tall trees whose leaves danced with the breeze. Families strolled along winding paths, children chased bubbles that floated and burst with giggles, and joggers ran past with rhythmic strides. Yet, in one corner of this tranquil park, a scene was unfolding that tugged sharply at the hearts of those who witnessed it. A little girl sat on the grass, tears streaking her cheeks as she clutched a small golden puppy tightly to her chest. Her arms trembled, not from the weight of the pup but from the fear of losing him. The puppy, sensing her distress, whimpered softly, resting his warm snout against her tiny arms. Standing above her was a stern-faced security guard, his navy uniform stiff and his baton hanging at his side. He wasn't a cruel man, but rules were rules, and the sign at the park's entrance clearly read, "No pets allowed." "Miss," the guard said firmly, his voice carrying authority, "you cannot keep animals here. This is a public park, and it's against the regulations." The little girl's sobs grew louder. "Please, uncle. Don't take him away. He's all I have." Her small voice cracked with desperation. A few passers-by slowed their steps, whispering to one another. A mother pulled her child closer, while an elderly couple paused, their eyes filled with concern. Everyone could see that this wasn't just a child breaking a rule, this was a child holding onto something that meant the world to her. The guard shifted uncomfortably. He had seen children cry before, but this was different. There was no tantrum here, no stubbornness. This was heartbreak. For a moment, he saw his own daughter's face reflected in the girl's tears, his daughter who had once begged him to keep a stray kitten years ago. He had refused then, citing practical reasons, and though his daughter forgave him, he never forgot the disappointment in her eyes. "Sweetheart," he said, softening his tone, "the rules aren't mine. They belong to the city. I can't let you stay with your puppy here." The girl's grip tightened around the pup. "But he doesn't bother anyone. He's a good boy. He never barks loud. Please, he's my best friend." The onlookers shifted, the silence thick with unease. Someone finally spoke up. A middle-aged man with kind eyes who had been watching from nearby. He stepped forward and said, "Sir, maybe we can find another way. She's just a child. The dog isn't harming anyone." The guard glanced at him but shook his head. "Sir, if I let her stay, then tomorrow 10 more will bring pets, and the park will be chaos." The man didn't argue, but his gaze lingered on the little girl's trembling figure. More voices began murmuring in support, people whispering about compassion and kindness, questioning whether the rule needed to be so rigidly enforced in such a case. The girl's sobs echoed louder now, and even the puppy whimpered as though pleading along with her. The crowd's sympathy swelled, but still no one dared to break the rule outright. They were waiting for someone to act. It was then that a gentle voice cut through the tension. An elderly woman, dressed in simple clothes and carrying a basket of flowers she had picked from her garden, walked slowly toward the group. She had seen many such conflicts in her long life, and she carried with her a wisdom that spoke louder than authority. "Rules exist for order," she said softly, addressing the guard, "but kindness exists for humanity. This little girl is not breaking the spirit of the park. She is bringing love into it. Is that so wrong?" The guard hesitated. The woman's words struck a chord deep within him. His grip on the baton loosened. The girl wiped her tears with her sleeve and whispered, "He's the only family I have." Now. Her words stunned the bystanders. A woman gasped, covering her mouth. The truth unfolded slowly through the child's trembling voice. Her parents had separated months ago, her mother working 2 jobs to keep food on the table. The puppy had been a gift from a neighbor who could no longer care for it. To the girl, the puppy wasn't just a pet, it was her companion, her comfort, her anchor in a world that often felt too heavy for her small shoulders. Silence fell over the park. The guard looked down at the little girl and, for the first time, truly saw her, not as a rule breaker but as a child clinging to the only light she had in a difficult life. The elderly woman bent down, her wrinkled hand brushing gently against the girl's arm. "What's his name, dear?" "Buddy," the girl whispered. "Because he's my buddy." The woman smiled warmly. "And a fine name it is. Every child deserves a buddy." The crowd seemed to breathe again, the air lighter now. A young man pulled out his phone and said, "What if we started a petition? If the community supports it, maybe the city will change the rules to allow pets in certain areas." Others nodded enthusiastically. A mother added, "Or at least make a designated space for children and their pets." Parks should be places of joy, not sorrow. The guard sighed, realizing that sometimes enforcing rules without compassion could cause more harm than good. He finally lowered his baton and said, "All right. I won't make you leave today. But you'll have to promise me something." The girl's tear-stained face looked up, hopeful. "Anything. Promise me," the guard said gently, "that you'll always take good care of Buddy. Make sure he's clean, safe, and doesn't disturb others. If you can do that, I'll pretend I never saw you today." The girl's face lit up with a smile so radiant that even the guard couldn't help but smile back. "I promise," she said eagerly, hugging Buddy closer. The crowd erupted into quiet applause, relief washing over them like sunlight after rain. The elderly woman placed a flower from her basket into the girl's hair and whispered, "Kindness always finds a way, my dear." In that moment, the park was transformed. It wasn't just a place of rules and order, it became a space of community, empathy, and shared humanity. People who had come as strangers left that day feeling connected by a common thread, the belief that compassion should never be sacrificed for the sake of rigid rules. The girl spent the rest of the afternoon playing with Buddy on the grass, her laughter ringing through the park like music. The onlookers who had once only whispered now came forward to pet Buddy, to smile at the child, and to share stories of their own pets from years past. The guard, standing at a distance, watched quietly. For the first time in a long while, he felt peace. He realized that while rules maintain order, it is kindness that keeps the world humane. And sometimes, bending the rules for the sake of compassion is not weakness, it is strength. Days later, the story of the girl and her puppy spread beyond the park. Someone had filmed the incident on their phone, and soon, the video traveled across social media. Comments poured in from strangers around the world, praising the guard's final act of compassion and the community's support. People wrote about how the story reminded them of their own pets, their childhoods, and the power of simple kindness in difficult times. Petitions were indeed started, and within months, the city approved a new policy. A special section of the park would be designated as pet-friendly. It wasn't a sweeping change, but it was a start, born from the tears of one little girl, the love of her puppy, and the courage of a community to choose kindness over cold rules. As for the little girl and Buddy, they became familiar faces at the park. Every afternoon, she would run across the grass with Buddy bounding happily beside her. People often stopped to wave, pet Buddy, or simply watch the joy radiating from the pair. The once lonely child now carried the love and kindness of her community wherever she went. The guard, too, found himself changed. He still enforced the rules, but with a new perspective. He listened more, judged less, and remembered always that behind every rule breaker might be a story worth hearing. And the elderly woman with the flowers. She continued to visit the park, sitting on the same bench, watching children play, and reminding anyone who would listen. Kindness is the greatest law of all.